it should have already turned over, in my opinion. Like I said, we're a developing young team. When I look at what's going on, I think about, that's the reason I'm here to help right this thing and help right the ship. And it's tough, man. Mentally, you prepare all week. I thought we had a good week of practice. I thought we had a good game plan going in. I thought guys were focused and locked in. There's something that we didn't, do right to have this outcome. And so there's a lot of soul searching that's got to be done. Every man's got to look within himself. A great coach told me, not to be a finger pointer, but a thumb pointer. And so, I point the thumb right at myself and I say, what do I do to get better? How do I help my teammates get better? And that's the reality. And so I'm working hard. There's not one thing that I'm not thinking about that'll get this thing done. But, I have faith, and that's the biggest thing. I have faith that we'll get it turned around.
This was a game that Ned didn't see coming. We had prepared really well. We were tuned into it. And I couldn't imagine that the guys that weren't able to play in this game would make that much of a factor. I just didn't feel that in our preparation. But they're a terrific team. They did everything like they do, and they played really well in all phases and kept us totally at bay. We couldn't make first down and couldn't get off the field. And they just did like they do. And so when we have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of catching up to do, and we got to get our guys back. The key guys that missed the game are key guys on our football team, and we weren't able to overcome that. And it seems like there was a factor in there. We were trying our ass off to get first downs and trying to get off the field. They had a bunch of maybe half dozen third and threes or less, and they converted most all of those. And it just keeps them out there and keeps all those good players having another shot at you. And we needed to play differently to have that chance. And so today. So this is not like the statement of whatever. This is just we got to realize what we're up against, and we got to get our guys back, and we got to play the game well, and we have to get back on track.
I was saying it earlier, man. We just love that guy. His presence is felt whenever he's in the building. So it's been good to have him around the past week or two, but even more so now that we can dial some plays up for him and get him going, and just it feels good to have the full game of our offense. Obviously, we got a little banged up front today, but get those guys healthy, man. We're off and running.
When the defense puts up a shutout like that, how fired up are you for that group to see how hard they work and see it?
It's hard in the NFL to put up a goose egg, man. And obviously hats off to Spags and what the defense have been doing, but we got faith in those guys to get the job done no matter what. And sure enough, I know this would be a good one for them to hang their hats on.
We'll go a couple more.
Back with you.
I mean, Sue, my dog, man. You see, he came out here 2 times, made it easy for us, so it's good having him back.
Talk about the shirts you guys had on today.
Folks tell them what the shirts was. I don't know, man. This was just kind of our first time, you know what I'm saying?
That looks good. He punted that thing pretty far, too, after the touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, that was just normal. That's training camp, so you just bring what we do from practice to the field.
Very good.
Did you feel some more ease in the offense and like you're more open with the addition of Rashee back?
Oh, yeah, it's always easier just having everybody. All the vets we have on the field, we got Trav, we got guys like Rashee coming back, we got Hollywood, Taquan, that big catch on the field, so it just makes it easier for guys to get plays and get open.
Did this feel like a pretty good depiction of what this offense can do now, with this firepower, everybody's kind of healthy?
I mean, yeah, y'all just now seeing it. We've seen this all offseason, so it's kind of like something that we were just waiting on and waiting for it to happen.
Good. Thank you.
We're starting to see how good this offense can be now that you guys are all back on the field together.
Yeah, it's special for sure. And I love seeing it. It gives you kind of like goosebumps of just what we have, and I like being a part of it for sure.
See, for you to reestablish sense of urgency from the team, sense of urgency getting their playmakers the ball, and then Rashee Rice himself understanding, hey, listen, I'm at a point in my career where I got to tighten up on and off the field if I want to, one, stick around for a long time and also keep making some money.
I think you look at this Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that's an accurate word to use in the approach that they took this week, because clearly we sat there and talked to Chris Jones before the game.
Yep.
Chris Jones is talking about studying tape up until the time he leaves.
Come on now.
So through the course of that week, talking about the Raiders, it's a divisional game, and they're talking about how last year we didn't play well in these divisional games, these one-score games. There is that sense of urgency in that locker room on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
And I thought you saw today. And matter of fact, from the defensive side of the ball for Andy Reid, he has coached, this is his 427th game.
Okay.
He's been there for 27 years in the National Football League.
Uh-huh.
This is his first regular season shutout.
That's hard to believe.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Hey,
Well done. Well done.
Not
Well
easy.
cheeseburgers for everybody.
And again, you talk about the complementary parts of a football team, offense to defense. Andy Reid to Steve Spagnuolo, what these guys have accomplished together, and it speaks volumes about how they approach things, how they approach the game. And again, I go back to the word that you used, because that to me, here we are in week 7, and they're applying urgency because they understand what it was like early in this season when they felt they were backed into a corner. They lose those games. All of a sudden, they're down 3 divisional games. Everyone's handing the division to the L.A. Chargers because they've won 3 in a row. And it's all, wow, what about us? And yet, all the backups are playing. They're getting experience. They get Worthy back. Boy, they look faster. They get Rice back, and they are now on another gear.
Just to coattail on Nate's point about the accurate word urgency, as opposed to what some of the fans were saying, they ought to be panicking. Patrick Mahomes never did. He said 3 games or so ago, hey, look, I believe in the character of these guys. We know what we're doing. All he needed were his weapons back. And there's still, because you even asked me on your other show, your news show, you know what, is he still the best quarterback? I say, when he's got his weapons, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and listen, they weren't about the MVP, about Super Bowl contenders, about teams that look good, teams that look cool, teams that look sexy, all without talking about the Chiefs. So, Chiefs, I'm sorry, because I was also guilty of that. And now, here is the ultimate reminder of the Chiefs saying, wait a minute, you can't talk about the postseason without us. You don't even know what the postseason looks like without us over the last handful of years. You can't talk about Super Bowl contenders without us. You can't talk about the MVP race without mentioning the best quarterback in football, Patrick Mahomes. So you're right, JB, you're spot on. They were patient. I think people like me on TV were not, because we are expecting them to be shot out of a cannon early on in the season.
Love what you said about the numbers. 7 consecutive AFC Championship games, 5-2 record by the Chiefs.
That's right.
5 consecutive Super Bowl appearances, 3-2. And MVPs, please, whose name is that?
Patrick
Mahomes.
Let's keep on the numbers. 9 different guys with catches today in the past game. The highlights that we've shown show everybody touching the football. Coach, you talked about complementary football, complementary coaches. What about complementary pieces on the offensive side of the ball? You bring Rashee Rice back. It's his first. You get him involved early. Xavier Worthy makes some plays, gets some touches in the gadget stuff. You've got both tight ends making plays. Noah Gray was down on the sideline. Travis Kelce opening it up. This becomes a really difficult team to defend when they have all their weapons back. And, Coach, you said it. The speed. You feel the speed from them. And I like the way they're running the football, too, starting to get back to pounding the football with Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. We'll see if he's all right. But they're rolling. They're rolling right now.
And I think when you go through that, I think sometimes you come out of the gate, you start winning. It's hard to fight the comfort that you can fall into, the complacency that you fall into. But you come out of the gate and everyone's questioning you, not even talking about you.
Probably a good
and yet
thing.
You've been there before. It's kind of all you need. So they may have to thank you, Nate. So they're going to thank you for sitting there and just questioning us.
That's true.
Not mentioning us. So they said, thank you for that little bit of motivation.
The doubt and the criticism, it could have been misplaced by people like me on TV. But let's also keep it real. Starting slow, they were part of that too.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, when you're winning and you're popular, listen, my man Travis Kelce was hosting shows, acting. Patrick Mahomes was in commercials. I'm not saying they shouldn't be doing those things. I don't know what it's like to come off of a Super Bowl, so I can't speak on that. But what I do know is there was a lot of Kansas City Chiefs players that were doing a lot of things outside of getting ready for football. When 5 years ago, it was just football. But there lies the gift and the curse of winning. So I think they needed to have a little bit of time to figure out who they were and find their rhythm after a preseason where the vets didn't really play.
Well, one thing I think Kansas City has done better than anybody the last 7-8 years is understanding winning moments in games, right? And making the plays when you need to make them. And they're opportunistic when it comes to those things. The other thing I think they understand, and it goes back to the word you used at the beginning, urgency. They understand the important moments within a season, right? There's a pacing to the season and kind of figuring out what pace you need to be at different times. I go back to when we were live at Arrowhead Stadium and then playing Baltimore, and both those teams only with 1 win at the time. And who showed up with their best performance of the season? Kansas City. And they played physical. So they understand the little milestones that you have to hit throughout the year to kind of keep yourself in the race, where you want to be in that race, and then start to play your best football as you need it.
And you hear a lot of the murmurs from a lot of these teams about the people that are not applying themselves through the course of a week. right? We heard about the people that aren't coming to players-only meetings. We're talking about that down in Miami. So there's a thing that success is preparation meeting opportunity. And no one prepares better than the Kansas City Chiefs. They cover every little detail. They had Dave Tope, one of the best special teams coaches in the National Football League. Steve Spagnuolo, one of the best defensive corners who can come up for a game plan, and he's going to take away what he perceives to be your strength and make you beat him with something else. And they got maybe one of the best creative play callers in Andy Reid. So it's preparation. You talk about what you want. It's all about preparation.
I think there was a play in this game that showed their preparation is second to none. And honestly, Nate, I think some of those acting gigs that those guys have been doing were helpful for the Kansas City Chiefs, where Patrick was out there saying, this never works, this doesn't work, we're not going to, boom, snap that and get the fourth. We're going to show that later in the show. But maybe that acting gig, maybe all that State Farm work that he's done has
the preparation that goes to the next level.
Right. To the next level.
It's
That's like Jedi mind tricks from Andy.
For sure. And another thing I love about this squad is that they definitely hear what people are saying externally.
Yeah.
But they only respond internally, which means they can hear the criticism, they can hear the doubt, they understand what people are saying about their team, their players, their organization, but they don't use their mouth. They don't run their jaw. They handle everything indoors. They improve and work on what they need to work on internally, and then on Sundays, they show the results. That's what makes this team very unique.
And they in that locker room, the players take ownership over the product. And Andy is able to give them that little bit of input. They'll say, hey, coach, let's try this. Sure, why not? And I'm telling you, there's a lot to be said for letting players have involvement and input into the game plan. When they have input into the game plan, they'll take ownership over it in the locker room.
You know what, Coach, you're right. I've heard more from their veterans than I've heard from Andy Reid, especially over the course of the first few weeks. I heard Patrick Mahomes taking full responsibility after every single loss, saying we have to be better, I have to be better, we're going to figure it out. And all of the veterans were repeating the same. It's almost like Coach Andy Reid doesn't need to say those things.
Doesn't have to. Hey, let me use a basketball reference to make a point here. You guys will understand where I'm heading. Larry Bird, perhaps the biggest trash talker in NBA history. And when he was feeling it, folks were doubting him, he would tell his defender, I'm going over to the low post over here. I'm going to fake one time, and I'm going to nail this shot. Telling him beforehand, and he would do it. What's the idiosyncrasy that Patrick Mahomes shows you when you know he's in a groove and he's got his weapons out there? If he's going to the huddle, what are you seeing him do?
What he's doing. Come on. He's moving his guys. Yeah, when he starts getting in his bag, you know that he's feeling himself. That's for sure. And he also, while they were struggling to find their rhythm and their pacing and their identity, he was telling everybody it's going to be all right. You guys are hitting the panic button. We are not.
Right. And up until today, and I don't know if it's still that case, he was a leading rusher on this football team. This guy takes the ball into his own hands. In the fourth, he didn't have to do it today. But watch this guy in the second half of games. In the second half of the games, he will run with the ball more than any other quarterback in the National Football League just to extend the drive, to give him a chance to line up again. We've seen him spin and turn looking for that first down marker.
They're going to win or lose on his talent.
And he plays it one play at a time, and he wants to win every play that he's out there.
Bill, you helped to educate me before I move to the next topic. You said that Patrick Mahomes is a what?
He's a winner.
But the type of player he is versus a runner, you said he's
a scrambler. He's not a runner. He's a guy that he scrambles, always looking downfields, always trying to see what's available down there. But he also has an eye on the first down marker. So he's on the side of his eye. He's got that peripheral vision. I'm looking down here.
First down marker. And also the line of scrimmage. How close can I get to this before I let this ball go?
So you're probably talking about peripheral vision, and that's what great quarterbacks have.
Hyper-awareness.
Yes, and you can see the whole field and have a feel for where you are in the pocket and where people are around you.
And on top of it, he's a great decision maker in those situations, right? And so it's one thing to be able to have the vision or to be able to have the ability to extend these plays and hang on to the ball, but you trust him. Like Andy trusts him implicitly in those critical situations to make the right decision, whether it is to run, whether it is to give somebody an opportunity on a ball down the field, or whatever it is. Maybe throw it away at certain times, too. He's got a great pulse on that.
Which is why the descriptor I use for him is preternatural. Come back to you and have the conversation. AFC West division, fellas. Broncos, Chargers are very much in this. Are we wide open now? Is it a whole different ball game?
Yes, I mean, I think it's very much wide open, and the way the Chiefs are playing right now, I don't think you can make the argument that either the Broncos or the Chargers are as complete of a football team. There's still a lot of football to be played, right? There's still a long way to go. Injuries can happen, all of those different things. If you ask me right now who was playing the best football of anybody that I've seen in the AFC West right now, I would say the Kansas City Chiefs, but there's a lot of football to be played.
Yeah, you have to respect the record of the Chargers, of course, especially within the division. Right. But there are some areas where they can improve. Defensively, they give up a lot of yards against running backs. And that's something that is going to either hurt them if they don't fix it, especially in November and December, or it's something that can be a strength if they start to figure out ways to stop the run. And then on offense, Herbert is missed a big shot. Like, they rely on these big, explosive plays down the field, and they're very good at it. But what happens when you can't hit those shots in a game? You know, what do you lean on? Listen, we have become accustomed to Patrick Mahomes being excellent with the ball. I'm talking about a human highlight reel, no-look passes, throwing from every single pivot and arm angle. But what we don't give him credit for is traditional quarterback play. Yeah. He can also drop back 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop, hit wide receivers whenever he needs to, go through his reads and progressions, drop it down to the running back, throw it away, slide if he needs to. So other teams that don't necessarily have that, what's going to sustain you when the big plays are not there game in and game out?
This division may have 3 defensive coordinators in it that we're going to be talking about for head coaching jobs at the end of the year. Jesse Minter, Vance Joseph, and Steve Spagnuolo. And these guys, these 3 guys, have their defenses playing at a very high level, which complements the offensive side of Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, and Patrick Mahomes. So these are 3 complete teams that could get on a run. But I'll tell you what, the experience factor, Kansas City's got the edge in my opinion.
To your guys' point, again, Andy Reid doesn't have to do a lot of talking. His experience.
Back out to Arrowhead, where we say hello to the lead analyst of the NFL on CBS. Tony Romo joins us now, also the observer of dynasties. Tony, you and I, we've talked plenty about this Chiefs team for the last half decade, but this version of them, this personnel grouping specifically, how did it allow Andy Reid and Matt Nagy to dial up the game plan today?
Well, I feel like this is a game that I've been waiting to see when everyone was healthy. They really have never been all on the field together from a skill position perspective. And so it was like, let's see if it really is a difference maker or if that's just something we've been thinking. Boy, was it a difference maker. I mean, they literally moved guys around, and they have the ability to do a lot of different things right now. It's going to help the run game, going to help Kelsey, it's going to help Rice. I mean, this is a complete football team and who's playing probably the best football in the National Football League the last 2 weeks.
9 different pass catchers for Patrick Mahomes on this day, Tony. When we look at what he just went through 6 weeks, how valuable is that? The comfort in wherever he's going to go through his progressions, that he's thrown meaningful passes there and plays have been made by a lot of different guys on the Chiefs right now.
Well, the biggest thing is you can get guys to do what they do best. So you dress it up, you move people around, and you make it look like it's exotic. But at the end of the day, you know this guy's really good at this. This guy's really good at this. And I think before they were kind of just putting the round peg, into the square hole kind of a thing, or whatever, square into a round. But that now they don't have to do that. They know this guy does this well, so you just go ahead and put him in that position. And I feel like you're seeing them really take off because now Mahomes trusts everybody and his rhythm. I mean, it just shows he's playing at a very high level right now.
Gold star stuff for the Big Red Machine, but I also want to talk a little silver and black. When you look at this Raiders team preseason, Tony, we're talking about the distance between the top of the division and the bottom of the division being far closer than years past. We see the canyon that still exists on this scoreboard. What do you make of this Raiders effort through 7 weeks now?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 things. I think the tape shows that there's subtle improvement here and there, but they're not near the standard of the top teams yet, and that's going to take time. They've got a lot of young guys who got to learn the system. Pete's got to really implement his whole, culture and just his vision and, their template of what they're going to do, and I think they'll get it right eventually, but right now they don't have enough good players, and when a team like that has the injuries they have, you really can't compete against a team like the Chiefs who are coming in at their best. And to me, that was the difference today. It was like, let's get rid of all their good players on the Raiders and be like, go compete. Well, the Chiefs have their best players. That's not really possible.
A world between them right now. Tony Romo, appreciative of the call and your time always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson continue to detail the world's dynasty. You wanted to put them to sleep? Well, they are alive and well. The Kansas City Chiefs rolling on with a decided, lopsided victory over their divisional foe, Las Vegas Raiders. Most wins by a coaching QB duo. Reed and Mahomes, the new standard. Back up on HQ postgame where the Chiefs called off the Dogs after the third. The damage was done. Patrick Mahomes, over the last 2 weeks, that's 543, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, with a full battery of targets. Mahomes and the machine operating on all go. Back in studio with the fellas as we assess some of what we saw. And on the Chiefs side, Mac, this is a team that, I don't want to say clicking on all cylinders, but we're seeing it move into motion with that full battery of personnel options at Patrick Mahomes' display here. What did you make of the way that he did distribute the ball to everybody at all times?
It's scary hours for opposing defenses when they play against Kansas City with Pat Mahomes having a full arsenal of high-level skill players surrounding him. Pat Mahomes was already cooking. The last few weeks, he's been playing some really inspired football. But now you add Rashee Rice back into the fold, highly motivated with what he already had going on with, you look at Hollywood Brown and the rest of the guys. I mean, at his disposal, it's almost like pick and choose what you want to do and how you want to do it. And that's what we saw. So now with the offense having the high-level pass catches, the running game finally surfaced. When you look at Isaiah Pacheco, as a team, they rushed for over 150 yards on the ground. So now a sense of balance is there because of the quality pass catchers that Pat Mahomes has.
Logan, it's the pillars of winning football that we're seeing here from the Chiefs. But talk to me about what Coach Spags' group did to this Raiders offense that rendered them almost non-existent.
They pitched a shutout. That is so hard to do in the NFL. In my 11-year career, I've had one shutout in 11 years. And that's because to not let the team even attempt or kick a field goal is really hard in the NFL. That is dominance, and that's what the Chiefs, that's the scary thing about the Chiefs is as well as they played offensively, they play that well defensively. It's like they have two head coaches on that staff with Spagnuolo and Andy Reid. And to allude to B-Mac real quick, the balance that they're establishing, when you get to the red area against the Chiefs, the exotics, the plays that they pull down, them being 4 of 5 in the red zone. Mm-hmm. I've been in Bill Belichick meetings. I've been in meetings with Dick LeBeau. I've been in all types of meetings with Hall of Fame defensive play callers. And it's a long meeting preparing for what the Chiefs can do with those weapons in the red zone.
You talked about the defensive dominance. The Raiders were 0-7 on third down. They had 95 yards of total offense for 4 quarters. And Geno, his average of completion was 4.2 yards per average throw. That's losing football. Not to mention for the entire ball game, they only had 3 first downs compared to 30 by Kansas City. So to Logan's point, Steve Spagnuolo, yes, he was going against a short-handed offense, but he made sure he didn't give them any glimmer of hope to really make them feel like they can make this thing competitive.
Well, very short-handed for the Raiders, right? We're already talking about a team that's probably bottom half of the NFL in terms of talent on the roster. That's the reason that they have a new head coach, a new general manager there, right? So when they're down Jacoby Myers, who is their only wide receiver, and he's inactive for the game. When they're down Brock Bowers, who was doubtful for this week, and then obviously inactive for that game. And then when Ashton Genty's really only had 1 game where he's been able to run because they haven't been able to figure out the offensive line, when Geno Smith always turns the football over, so he's not even taking chances down the field anymore. I don't know how you're going to be able to generate any sort of offense against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. That's also a name, Steve Spagnuolo. You know, he keeps winning Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator. Maybe we should start throwing his name in some head coaching candidate discussions at some point. That's for a later time. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, when Max Crosby leaves the game, who is their best player, and he left that game, it's going to be tough sledding for the Raiders. I also want to point out for the Chiefs, credit them as well. They're doing this without Josh Simmons, who is their week 1 left tackle, and Trey Smith didn't return to the game, only played 15 snaps and then left with injury. So they're playing, and Patrick Mahomes is playing at an MVP level with missing 2 of his offensive linemen.
Attrition touching all, but maybe the attrition this league will face will be named the Kansas City Chiefs once again, looking like they have eyes for the top of the AFC now. Above water, 4-3 on the season following this latest victory. This is the largest shutouts by either team in the history of this head-to-head between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Also marks Andy Reid's first regular season shutout.
The Chiefs just delivered the most brutal beatdown the NFL has seen in decades, and somebody in Las Vegas needs to get fired immediately. We're not talking about a close game that got away. We're talking about a historic embarrassment that had announcers literally running out of words to describe how awful it was. Kansas City absolutely demolished the Raiders 31-0 at Arrowhead Stadium, and this wasn't just a loss, this was a statement that the dynasty is back and everyone else better wake up before it's too late. The numbers are so insane you'll think I'm making them up, but buckle up because what happened on that field was nothing short of a football massacre. But wait, it gets even crazier. This was Kansas City's first shutout since 2011, which means it's been almost 14 years since they held someone to 0 points. That 2011 game was also against the Raiders, a 28-0 beatdown when they were still in Oakland. So there's something poetic about the Raiders being on the receiving end of both historic shutouts. The Chiefs went out there and absolutely suffocated Las Vegas in every single phase of the game. The Raiders managed just 3 first downs in the entire 60 minutes of football. 3. Let that sink in for a second. An NFL team with professional players getting paid millions of dollars could only move the chains 3 times in 4 full quarters. The stat line are so lopsided they look fake. Kansas City racked up 434 total yards, while the Raiders could barely scrape together 96 yards. The Chiefs ran 77 plays compared to the Raiders' pathetic 30. On 3rd down, Kansas City converted 9 of 15 attempts, while Vegas went a stunning 0 for 7. They couldn't convert a single 3rd down, not one. The Chiefs had 30 first downs to the Raiders' 3, and even more embarrassing, 2 of those 3 Raiders' first downs came from passing plays, and 1 came from a penalty, so they really only earned 2 legitimate first downs by actually moving the ball on offense. Tony Romo said it on the broadcast, and he wasn't exaggerating. This was one of the worst offensive performances in the last 25 years of NFL football. The Raiders had more punts than first downs, more 3-and-outs than completed drives, and spent more time watching the Chiefs celebrate than actually playing competitive football. At one point in the game, the broadcast crew mentioned that just holding Kansas City to a field goal felt like a victory for the Raiders defense. That's where we're at. That's how dominant this performance was. The Chiefs were so far ahead that Patrick Mahomes left the game with 8 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter, and Gardner Minshew came in to just kneel the ball and run out the clock for an entire quarter without attempting a single pass. Thinking about it, this kind of domination doesn't happen by accident in today's NFL where parity is supposed to be king. The Raiders came into Arrowhead and got schooled in every conceivable way, and honestly, after a performance this historically bad, someone's job has to be on the line. You can't put a product that pathetic on national television and expect everyone to just move on like nothing happened. I genuinely believe this game will be used in coaching seminars for years as an example of what happens when preparation meets opportunity on one side and complete organizational failure meets a superior opponent on the other. While everyone's still trying to process that historic shutout, the real story buried in all those zeros on the scoreboard is the triumphant return of Rashee Rice. This wasn't just any comeback, this was a statement game that reminded the entire league why Kansas City was so confident heading into this season. Rice had been gone for over a year, first suffering a torn ACL in week 4 of last season when he collided with Patrick Mahomes during a game, then serving a 6-game suspension to start this season for his role in a high-speed car crash in Dallas back in March 2024. He pleaded guilty to multiple traffic charges, did his time on the sideline, rehabbed that knee, and came back like he never left. In his first game back, Rice caught 7 passes for 42 yards and 2 touchdowns, leading the team in receptions. His first touchdown came on the Chiefs' opening drive, a little 2-yard pop pass from Mahomes that Rice took to the house before punting the football into the stands like he was celebrating a Super Bowl victory. The emotion was real, you could see it all over his face. Then with just 10 seconds left in the first half, Mahomes fired a dart to Rice at the front left pylon for another touchdown, giving Kansas City a commanding 21-0 halftime lead. This time Rice scanned the crowd before picking out a lucky fan in the front row to hand the ball to while his teammates mobbed him in celebration. It was his first career game with 2 touchdowns, and the chemistry with Mahomes looked like they'd been playing together all season. What made Rice's return even more significant was that this marked the first time all season that Kansas City had Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown on the field at the same time. This was the offensive trinity that the Chiefs had been dreaming about since the offseason, the combination of weapons they believed would make them unstoppable. Rice brings that possession receiver mentality with the ability to create yards after catch. Worthy provides that explosive deep speed that stretches defenses vertically, and Hollywood Brown adds veteran savvy with route running precision. Together, they created mismatches all over the field that the Raiders had absolutely no answer for. The Chiefs scored touchdowns on their first 4 consecutive drives to start the game. Let me repeat that because it's insane. 4 straight drives, 4 straight touchdowns. The offense was clicking on a level we haven't seen from Kansas City in quite a while. After those 4 touchdown drives, they added a field goal on their 5th possession to make it 31-0, and at that point, Andy Reid basically called off the dogs and just ran out the clock. The offense finished with 434 total yards, 9 different players caught passes, and the running game contributed 152 yards on 41 carries with a touchdown. This was complete offensive domination in every sense of the word. Rice himself said after the game, "I think it's a glimpse of what's possible and what's to come." And that right there should terrify the rest of the AFC. This wasn't Rice at 100%, this was Rice knocking off the rust in his first game action in over a year, and he still managed to be one of the most impactful players on the field. What happens when he gets a few more games under his belt? What happens when the timing with Mahomes gets even sharper? What happens when defensive coordinators have to game plan for Rice, Worthy, Brown, Travis Kelce, and a rejuvenated running game all at once? I truly believe Rashee Rice's return is the final piece of the puzzle that Kansas City needed to transform from a good team into a legitimate Super Bowl contender again. The offense looks fun to watch for the first time this season. You can see the players smiling and enjoying themselves out there, and that energy is contagious. When you combine Rice's skill set with everything else this offense has, I honestly think we're looking at a Chiefs team that's about to go on an absolute tear through the rest of the schedule. Speaking of that offensive explosion, let's talk about the maestro orchestrating the whole thing. Patrick Mahomes went out there and put on an absolute clinic, going 26 of 35 for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns before Andy Reid pulled him with the game completely out of reach. Mahomes was so efficient and in such complete control that he spent the entire 4th quarter sitting on the bench with a huge smile on his face, watching his backup hand the ball off over and over again. He completed passes to 9 different receivers, spread the ball around like he was playing Madden on rookie mode, and made it look effortless the entire time. The first quarter alone told you everything you needed to know about how this game was going to go. Mahomes went 9 of 10, passing for 113 yards with a touchdown to Rice in just the opening 15 minutes. He was picking apart the Raiders' defense with surgical precision, finding the soft spots in coverage, getting the ball out quickly, and letting his playmakers do work in space. Every drive felt inevitable, every 3rd down felt automatic, and every time the Chiefs got the ball, you just knew they were going to score. What made Mahomes' performance even more impressive was the balance he brought to the offense. Sure, he was carving up the secondary through the air, but he also contributed on the ground when he needed to, carrying the ball 4 times for 28 yards and picking up a couple of crucial first downs with his legs. He's not a runner in the traditional sense. He's a scrambler who always keeps his eyes downfield, looking to make something happen through the air. But he's also got that peripheral vision and awareness to know when to tuck it and pick up easy yardage. The broadcast crew talked about this, how Mahomes has this preternatural ability to see the whole field, feel where the pressure is coming from, and make the right decision in those critical moments. The offensive line gave him time to operate, the receivers created separation, and Mahomes just picked the Raiders apart piece by piece. Kansas City converted 9 of 15 3rd downs, which is an absurd success rate that kept the chains moving and kept the defense on the field. Meanwhile, the running game was equally effective, churning out 152 yards on 41 carries and keeping the Raiders' defense honest. They couldn't just pin their ears back and rush the passer because the Chiefs were perfectly willing to hand it off to Isaiah Pacheco, Brashad Smith, or Kareem Hunt and grind out yards on the ground. The efficiency on offense was something Kansas City hasn't shown consistently this season. They ran 77 total plays to the Raiders' 30, controlled the time of possession, and put together long, methodical methodical drives that ended in points. At one point, the broadcast showed Drew Tranquill and Jalen Watson stretching on the sideline because the defense was getting cold from spending so little time on the field. That's how dominant the offense was. The defense barely had to do anything because the offense just kept scoring and eating up clock. And here's the beautiful part. Mahomes left the game with 8 seconds left in the third quarter. 8 seconds. The game was so out of hand that the reigning Super Bowl MVP didn't even need to play a single snap in the fourth quarter. Gardner Minshew came in and literally just took knees and handed the ball off to kill time. When's the last time you saw a Chiefs game where Mahomes was done before the fourth quarter even started? That's how thorough this beatdown was. I've got to say, watching Mahomes operate when he's got all his weapons healthy is a completely different experience than what we saw earlier this season. This is the version of Patrick Mahomes that won back-to-back Super Bowls, the guy who makes the game look easy, the quarterback who elevates everyone around him. When he's got this kind of supporting cast and this kind of offensive firepower, I genuinely believe there's no defense in the league that can consistently stop him. The scary part for the rest of the AFC is that this offense is only going to get better as Rice gets more comfortable and the timing continues to improve. While Mahomes was getting all the glory, let's not forget about the other offensive weapons who showed up and showed out in this demolition. Travis Kelce reminded everyone that reports of his demise were greatly exaggerated, hauling in 3 catches for 54 yards and looking like his vintage self. For all the talk about Kelce slowing down or losing a step, he was out there making contested catches, finding soft spots in the zone, and being the safety valve that Mahomes has relied on for years. He might not have gotten a touchdown in this one, but his presence alone opens up so much for everyone else. Isaiah Pacheco had himself a day on the ground, carrying the ball 15 times for 57 yards and scoring his first rushing touchdown of the season. That touchdown run showed the kind of physical, downhill running style that makes Pacheco so effective. He's not going to dance around in the backfield, he's going to lower his shoulder and punish defenders. And on that touchdown, he bulldozed his way into the end zone with defenders hanging off him. Getting that first rushing score of the year had to feel good for Pacheco, especially after some questions early in the season about whether the running game would be effective. Rashee Smith got plenty of opportunities late in the game when the Chiefs were just trying to run out the clock, and he took advantage with 14 carries for 39 yards. He's not going to blow anyone away with speed or elusiveness, but he's a solid back who can pick up tough yards when you need to control the game. The fact that Kansas City felt comfortable handing him the ball over and over in the fourth quarter shows the trust they have in him as a complementary piece. Tyquan Thornton made his impact